everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted on this episode to be talking with a person who has, don't let him fool you, it's an impressive cat poster back there with some cool, I think those are like Joe Biden glasses on the cat, I believe. And that is writer, creator, okay, they're not Joe Biden, Josh Tierney. Josh, thank you for joining.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'll mention a couple of works here, and if I mispronounce any of this, please just let me know. Well,
Sure.
actually, it's really just the first one, Spera. Spera?
Yeah, I always pronounce it Spera. I think it is Spira since it's Latin for hope, but
Yes.
I used it as a place name and I pronounce it as Spera.
Nice, nice. Warm Blood being another work, as
Yeah,
well as World Peace, but it's Piece.
yeah. I like puns.
I like it. I
Uh,
like it. Yeah. The newest book that we're talking about is Black Plastic, cyberpunk, fantasy, YA, thriller. These are the things. Is this right?
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I feel like we can't call things cyberpunk anymore
Oh,
because
really?
of Cyberpunk 2077, the game. Um, Now I feel like if you ever, at this point, if you say cyberpunk, people are gonna feel like it's just been run down. Um, so I'm calling it a cyber thriller.
I like it. Digitally
It,
informed.
yeah, if I made this like 5 years ago, it'd be cyberpunk, sure.
All right, all right. Well, I'm excited because we have a brand new segment. I don't usually, that's very David Letterman. I don't usually do segments on here, but I have a voice from a person that you currently know. And I think you probably know who this is because this person was also on our email chain where they shared these quotes. But
That's right.
just in case, I'm going to read a couple of quotes to you, and I would like to see if you know who this person is. It's like that SNL
Yeah.
kind of like game show where they're like, "Who am I?" You see them every day. I was already a fan of your work. Contributing to Warm Blood and now illustrating Black Plastic has been amazing. So this person has illustrated the book that we're talking about.
Who could it
So
be?
that's a big hint. Second one, Black Plastic's bold style stood out from pitch to script. This is a person that's been with you throughout the entire process. It's been a delight to match that boldness in the art. Hopefully, you're narrowing it down at this
Yeah, it
point.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, yeah, a little familiar, a little familiar. This is the part where I want to insert like some random quote that this person didn't say, but I'm going to stick with the third one. I'm going to stay on script. The entire process has been fulfilling. So they started the process with you. They've worked through the entire process. How embarrassing would it be if you did not know
Yeah.
this person? Bouncing ideas around, getting feedback has definitely improved my comic skills.
Wow.
Almost a guest on the show, but they had another commitment. Can you name that person, Josh?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it's Nikki, the artist on the book.
Are you sure? Is that your final answer?
It's final answer.
All right, that's the first bad Regis impression I've gotten to do on the show. You are, of course, correct.
Uh,
What has he won, Johnny? I don't have a Johnny. I don't even have a. There's
I
not even a
think
Rick over here.
I think I won a great collaborator who's been working on the book for about a year and a half. It's
He's smooth, folks. He's very
yeah, that's
smooth.
right. Currently on the lettering stage, so there's still some work to do. Um, and some of the stuff that she said um, is are things that I've been thinking about because when she joined Black Plastic, I kind of pulled her away from her own personal webcomic for about a year.
Mhm.
So this entire time, I felt like if she didn't feel like she was getting anything out of Black Plastic, then I don't know. I would have definitely felt bad for like coaxing her away onto something else. So yeah, those quotes mean a lot to me. I'm happy that she feels like she's been rewarded by her work on the project.
And she's certainly welcome to come on. And if that ever happens, we will read quotes from you.
Oh
See,
yeah,
see.
yeah.
And
We'll turn the tables.
that's right.
Absolutely.
The turn shall be tabled.
Yeah.
That's right. As you pet the cat in like Dr. Evil style. I love it. So the book has this really fascinating concept, and I haven't seen the book yet. I'll say that. I would like to check it out, but um, we're in sort of a high rise, so it's got the J.G. Ballard going on there. But the thing is,
Yeah,
there,
that's actually a good point. That could have been a subconscious inspiration. Because
yeah.
I've never read High Rise, but I had a friend who read it and would talk about it all the time. So I do. Now that you mention it, I feel like subconsciously I might have been a little bit inspired by that.
But I think that's a great inspiration, and you've made that your own. Plus, it's such an ideal space for things to happen
Yeah,
because, as we know from uh, storytelling, being in this sort of enclosed space, having to navigate this maze, you're really not able to just jump out at any point. You're kind of trapped on this thing.
yeah, exactly.
And there is karaoke
That's right. It's
involved.
I call it the world's first karaoke cyber thriller. Um, there are a lot of inspirations that went into this book. And I think I'll start listing them a bit, and you can jump in whenever you want.
Sure, sure.
The most fun one is, of course, I do love karaoke,
Hmm.
and it's particularly in the private room style. There's a place in Toronto that whenever I go to Toronto, I always hit up the karaoke place every night. And I feel like that was the very beginning of my inspiration for this book, is just wanting to capture that wild energy in about 146 pages and just contain it. And then another inspiration was that I had written an Agretzko miniseries that went unpublished. Agretzko being the Sanrio show about a red panda that vents by going to karaoke and performing black metal or
All
death
right.
metal.
Uh,
Um, so I wrote this 4 issue miniseries, but the license for it expired before the artist could work on it. And I was really proud of my work on that. So I feel like there's also a little bit of a Gretzko in Black Plastic, just because I still, uh, I, it was my first, Gretzko was my first taste of writing karaoke, which is an interesting experience to write singing in prose or in a comic book, since all the singing is taking place in your imagination.
uh,
Um, so it's kind of interesting to find ways to write it out so that you can kind of affect how the reader will hear the lyrics and things like that. And we're going to try some stuff with the lettering
mhm.
that will hopefully help that come across. Um, and yeah, I kind of just want to jump all over the place. So something that me and Nikki did before we started the book was that we both made karaoke playlists. We
I was
made two,
gonna ask, yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
we made two playlists each. One with like big, obvious, popular stuff that we would sing at karaoke. That's anybody could sing along with.
Hmm.
And then a second list, which is the stuff that we would personally choose because we'd want to sing, and it didn't matter if anybody else in the room could sing it or not. It was just songs that would mean something to us that we'd want to sing. Um, so we had those two playlists each, and we made those before I started writing the book, so that when I was writing the book, I was listening to all 4 playlists. And then I took inspiration from the songs that we were listening to, and especially because I've never, other than Agretzko, I've never written lyrics before. Um, so I would pay attention to the lyrics, how they were sung, and then look at how they look written down. And then I would approach writing in a similar way, like how many words per line, what sounds natural in a single breath, um, that kind of thing. And yeah, even some of the characters are even inspired by the songs. Like there's one of the songs that I picked for my personal playlist is Honey by Robin, which is one of
Hmm.
my favorite like dance pop tracks. And there's a one of the main characters in the book is named Honey, named after that track. And her story in the karaoke building is also kind of inspired by the vibe of that song. So just try to make the book as musical as possible, despite there being like no sound element to it, since it's going to be text and art on paper.
Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Yeah, for me, it's "How Soon Is Now" by the Smiths.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
picked that one.
It's a cool song.
Yeah, I am human and I need to be loved because I always like veer towards the angsty stuff. Always have and always will. So when I go to karaoke, it's great because everybody else will pick like the big happy stuff,
Hmm.
and then I like to do these like really personal songs that I can actually relate to. Um,
Yeah.
and but there's definitely like that was another reason why I asked Nikki to make her own playlist is because I knew if I focused only on the songs that I like, that it would have affected the script and it would have felt a bit more one note, possibly. So by having a wider range of musical influences, it kind of affected the little stories in the building. Uh, so yeah, there's like a group of party girls. It's one of the stories takes place in the building, and for that one, I was inspired by some of Nikki's songs.
Cool. Uh, what's it like writing a comic? We've talked about sort of the navigation of not having the sound there, but what's that process like for you?
Yeah, well, I have like a long history of getting into comics and writing them. So I'll keep it to the recent history, which is I recently wrote a web comic for Tapas called Iris Complex, which
Hmm.
is in the line style. So it keeps scrolling down. And I was writing that because it goes a panel going down like it's one panel after another. I kind of noticed how cinematic it actually was. So as Iris Complex went on, I felt more and more like I was writing it as my own movie while also incorporating things that could only be done in a comic. Um, and Black Plastic is the first thing that I've written since Iris Complex. And because of that, that's influenced Black Plastic. So when I scripted Black Plastic, even though I knew it wouldn't actually be feasible in the layouts, I did basically write it so that, like a line comic, it's just one panel after another. And I
Hmm.
did kind of picture them as, since uh, like Webtoon or Tapas in the line style, it's more like squares. So it'd be more like a 4:3 Academy ratio, like TV image.
Yeah.
And then for a comic with the wider page, if it's just all horizontal panels, and it's more like a widescreen movie. So I kind of approached it in that way when writing the script. And I also incorporated a lot of aspects of montage.
Mm-hmm.
So time, it'll jump around different characters and different periods of time, a lot like a music video. Um, And music videos are another general inspiration because one of like the major inspirations for Black Plastic is a period in media from about 1998 to the early 2000s. Uh, like for a lot of people, when they think of cyberpunk, they think of the 80s.
Hmm.
But I think more about the cyber thrillers and electropop from 1998 to the early 2000s. So that would be stuff like Serial Experiments Lane.
Mm.
which is an anime series that influenced this. There's a video game by Suda51 and Grasshopper called The Silver Case. Came out in 1998. Shinya Tsukamoto movie called Bullet Ballet, um, about a guy trying to get a gun in Tokyo. Um, and there's just like this aesthetic going on in all these things, which is like it's when the internet is finally starting to become a big thing,
Yeah.
um, and there's a lot more interest in it, but at the same time there's also still a lot of mystery. Like we no longer have any mystery on the internet anymore. We know what it is, we know where everything is, we know how all the information is stored. But like in the late 90s, when social media wasn't there yet, and we were just checking out all these different strange, mysterious websites on the internet, it was a very different vibe. Um, and Black Plastic kind of takes place. So it's almost hard to describe. It's almost like an alternate reality future based on what people thought technology was going to be like in the late 90s. Uh, so we put the date of Black Plastic as 20XX, which I took from Mega Man. Um, but really, it takes place in this kind of retro futuristic late 90s time period. So when you look at the technology in the book, they're using like really clunky equipment.
Hmm.
Um, like they're using like thick flip phones and just all this analog gear that you probably wouldn't expect as much in like a 2025 cyberpunk story. Um, and so I'm sure most of it won't even make sense, and that's kind of intentional to an extent. It's more of a, like an aesthetic thing. It's just uh, getting the idea across, that what they're doing is like a form of hacking, but using this like alternate universe technology uh, that comes out of this imagined future. Like, what if the future depicted in the late 90s actually happened, and
Hmm.
what technology might look like if it followed that course?
Love that idea. I, of course, lived during that time and got to know the internet in its early days. So I think I'm right there in terms of what you're thinking about and picturing with that. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll quickly add, like, you will definitely see it in the book itself because um, built into the book are these panels that are like MSN Messenger messages
mhm,
or AIM messages that the characters would be sending to each other, or like early message board messages. It's never totally clear where these messages are from, and they kind of jump around. When you read the story, it all takes place in the story's present, and then the messages will give you a bit more insight into the past. Um, and there are some pages that are inspired by like Winamp and what your desktop probably looked like in the late 90s.
cool. Very cool. And curious about that collaborative process that you were talking about with Nikki. What was that like?
Yeah, I sent her a lot of ref, and what happens is what I always love to happen is that she definitely put her own stamp on everything.
Yeah.
So she always captured the exact essence of what I wanted while doing things that I wouldn't think to do in terms of like it's like the fashion. I would send her like fashion, and then what she would come up with would be something that would exist in this world.
Mhm.
That since I'm not an artist, I wouldn't be able to draw it myself. All I can do is send her pictures of things that I like. And yeah, she's been open to everything. She loves feedback. She'll add her own personal touches where she can. And I really love formal experimentation, like in Godard movies and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And with Black Plastic, since it's a more personal project for me, I was able to put that stuff in, and she would get it and not be weirded out by it, and put it in, and it would work perfectly.
If I'm a listener out there and I want to check the book out or find out more about your work, where would be some places I might go?
Yeah, right now I'm on Instagram at Josh W. Tierney, Tumblr at Josh Tierney, and Blue Sky. If you search me up, I'll be there. And for Nikki, I think she's under Nikki Illustrates, wherever she is on social media. So like Instagram, Tumblr. If you look up Nikki Illustrates, you should find her there.
Sounds great.
And same with Wildstar, the publisher, who are both very grateful to you for taking a chance on this. If you look up Wildstar Press on pretty much every social media imaginable, you'll be able to find them, and check out their other books and follow them for updates on this one.